All right, welcome and thank you already for attending this info session on Challenge My City, call for proposals Heraklion and Larissa. My name is Raphael Hirt. I'm a city project manager in the market development team at EIT Urban Mobility, and I'll be hosting this session together with Deputy Mayor Diamantos Konstantinos and his colleagues George Soltis and Christina Mitroula from the city of Larissa, and Stelios Migrakis from the municipality of Heraklion. He is an expert advisor to the mayor of Heraklion. And my colleague Anlor Aslanian, program officer in the PMO department, who will provide more details on the application process. As for the agenda of this session, in the first part, I will provide you with some general information about the call. Then the city representatives will present the 7 open challenges. And after this, my colleague Anlor will guide you through the application process. And in the end, there will be some time for a Q&A session. Before we start, some housekeeping rules. This session is recorded so that people who cannot attend today or stay until the end will be able to access the information provided in this meeting. Your microphones are muted as we're expecting around 100 participants. But feel free to ask your question at the end of the session in the Q&A session or directly by using the chat box. And the slides will be, the slides and the recording will be available after this info session. So let's start now with a few words about the organization that I'm working with, EIT Urban Mobility. It's an initiative of the European Institute of Technology and Innovation, and that is a body of the European Union. We are the leading European innovation community for urban mobility, facilitating collaboration between cities, industry, academia, research, and innovation to solve the most pressing mobility challenges of cities. Using cities as living labs, its industry, research, and university partners demonstrate how new technologies can work to offer mobility solutions in cities in a more sustainable way. And within EIT Urban Mobility, there are 4 different areas. We have dedicated projects and actions to connect the public and the private sector. We work on bringing talent to business by fostering entrepreneurship through practical learning. We invest in startups with innovative mobility solutions, and we also work on taking innovations to the market. And this is where the Challenge My City program falls. Challenge My City is one of the programs offered by EIT Urban Mobility. It connects European cities with innovative solutions, which can help the cities to tackle their mobility challenges. So we help to test, to evaluate, and to scale successful solutions. It's also about accelerating the market uptake of existing innovations. And on the next slide, I will explain more in detail how this program works and what the process looks like. The Challenge My City call provides innovative mobility solution providers with the opportunity to implement funded projects in urban environments. So EIT Urban Mobility and the cities of Heraklion and Larissa have worked together over the past months to define the priority mobility challenges, considering their urban mobility strategy and future investment plans. And the challenges will be addressed by innovative solutions in specific pilot locations that are selected by the cities and funded for a period of 6 months. The pilot implementation is funded by EIT Urban Mobility and administratively supported by the cities. The impact of the pilots will be evaluated at the end of the pilot's period to assess the potential benefits of a long-term implementation of the tested solutions. Some words also about the timeline of the implementation of this program this year. As you can see on the slide, the call was launched on the 28th of April, and the application phase is open until the 29th of May. So if you have a matching solution, don't lose time and start your application in Blasa after this info session. On this slide, you'll find a brief overview on the challenges defined by Heraklion. I will just mention the topics now because later on the city representatives will explain and present these challenges in detail to you. So for Heraklion, we have identified challenge number A, creating micro mobility hubs through secure bicycle parkings. Challenge B, the management and control of parking spaces for persons with reduced mobility and logistics. Challenge C, control of motorized vehicle access in the pedestrianized area of the city center. And challenge D, the electric powered micro vehicle for PRM passengers mobility in the pedestrianized city center. You as a company, you can apply to more than one challenge, but you have to submit a separate application. And this is the list of challenges identified by the city of Larissa. Challenge A, creating micromobility hubs through secure bicycle parkings. Challenge B, the collection of environmental and traffic data. Challenge C, management and control of parking spaces for PRM. And here again, you can apply for more than one challenge, but you have to submit a separate application. This is not the topic of this info session, but just for you to be aware that there's another city participating in this year's Challenge My City edition. This is Braga in Portugal. And I will quickly mention also the topics of their challenges. So it's Challenge A, enhancing bike safety and monitoring cyclists' flows. Challenge B, understanding and promoting active mobility in the city center. Challenge C, improving monitoring and use of on-street parking spaces. And Challenge D, encouraging alternative transportation for school commuting to decrease private car usage. And this is has a different deadline for applications. For you to be aware, the deadline is already on the 8th of May. Now some general remarks about the requirements, who can actually apply, who can participate. All type of applicants, including EIT mobility partners and non-EIT mobility partners, are eligible to participate in this call for proposals. Applicants are expected to be companies, startups, SMEs, large corporates located in a member state of the European Union or from a third country associated to Horizon Europe. The proposal shall be in line with the vision and mission of the EIT Mobility Strategic Agenda, and there's a link on the core website to this document for you to review or to consult. The solutions, the product or solution should bring novelty and be results focused. The solution should also propose a financial sustainability mechanism to the EIT Mobility, and I will come to this in a few minutes. And the solution should be at least TRL 7, Technology Readiness Level 7, and present a letter of recommendation from a previous pilot implementation. About the proposal itself, what do we expect in the proposal? It should be concise. It should describe the high-level execution activities to implement the solution, as well as the timeline, budget, breakdown, and the roles within the team, which is implementing the pilot. We also want to know the performance metrics, as we will run an impact assessment of the selected solution based on the data collected. So the company should propose the metrics in their proposal. However, the metrics can be adjusted later in the process. And another important aspect is to explain how you will reach out to the end users to maximize the impact of the pilot. So an engagement and user engagement plan, marketing plan is also part of the proposal. Then something that goes beyond the description of the activities are the key performance indicators that we have defined. And you also find a link on the core website to the key performance indicators. But just to mention them briefly here, so any proposal has to include these mandatory KPIs, and both values should be 1. So the first one is that you have completed a test with end users that proved to be successful and that the solution is ready for scaling. And the second KPI is that of a marketed innovation, meaning that the solution proposed to be launched to the market during the project duration, or at least latest within 18 months from the start of the project, and will generate at least 10,000 euros in revenues. These are the 2 KPIs. Then it was already mentioned, the financial sustainability mechanism. That means that EIT Mobility is asking for a return on the funding This return can happen in two different ways. In case of startups, we are asking for an equity share in exchange for our funding. For other type of companies, we are asking for a revenue share on future sales generated through EIT-initiated projects. So in both cases, the agreement will be negotiated once the proposal is selected. To be very clear, the revenue share applies only to the future sales obtained through the participation in the pilot and future opportunities acquired through the participation in EIT Mobility's network. Usually the revenue shares have a geographical cap or a time cap or an amount cap component to limit the provider's exposure. This should help you to come up with a proposal that you are comfortable with and that you can submit as part of the application. If the application is selected, we will use the proposal as a base to negotiate a final revenue share, which works for you and for us. And once you become one of the supported companies, we will make sure to provide you with new opportunities to expand your activities, and which also contributes in the end to our financial sustainability thanks to the revenue share. Now there's 4 mandatory deliverables that you can see on this slide. The first one is a report including the technical requirements for the pilot and also the definition of the agreed metrics for the data collection during the pilot implementation. This first deliverable is to be submitted during the first week of the project. The second deliverable is the commercial agreement, and a template will be provided by EIT Mobility to set and agree on the financial sustainability mechanism, as well as to establish the specific rights and obligations between the parties regarding the exploitation and commercialization of the results. The third deliverable is the raw data set that has been collected during the pilot implementation. This can include data collected such as the production, consumption of energy, data on the number of users, the frequency, and data on the user's satisfaction and feedback. And the deliverable number 4 is a final report describing the pilot implementation and outcomes, the results, KPI achievements with supported evidence, for example, environmental footprint of the solution implemented, the materials used for the construction of the solution, if it's recycled or not, and emissions and energy consumption. This can all be included in this final report. So these are the 4 mandatory deliverables. Now coming to the benefits for selected companies, their solution will be promoted on the European level through the EIT marketplace. We will provide you with more networking opportunities with other companies, but also potential clients, for example, local governments. Of course, the company will have access to the grant of 60K per funded pilot and some additional support from EIT Mobility's side in the implementing phase of the pilot, but also some support from the city offices during the pilot implementation. Then, as said before, there is an impact assessment of the deployed solution, and this will also be helpful for the company to promote their technology in the future. Now, this slide on the budget, to be very clear here on the available budget. So in each participating city, there will be 3 pilots can be funded, and each pilot is funded with 60K. So in total for the 3 pilots in one city, 180,000 euros available, which also means that as in Heraklion, there's 4 open challenges, only 3 of them can be funded. In Larissa, there's 3 open challenges and 3 pilots can be funded. And that was already my last slide. Let's come to a part that might be even more interesting. Let's hear directly from the city representatives on the challenges they have selected. Let's start with the city of Heraklion, and We have the pleasure to have Stelios, the expert advisor to the Mayor of Heraklion, with us today. So thank you already, Stelios, for taking the time, and the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for hosting us, and I'm happy to provide you with further information about the challenges we have selected. We are the major municipality on the island of Crete. The island of Crete is at the southeast of Mediterranean Sea. It's the second biggest island in the region. Heraklion municipality covers this area and is, as I said, the biggest municipality on the island. We also are the administrative capital of the region of Crete, and it's the fourth largest city in Greece. It has about 174,000 inhabitants, but only for a few months in the winter. Then in the summertime and autumn and all the other days, it's almost 1 million. It elevates to 1 million in the summertime. Next slide, please. We have launched some pedestrian roads in the city center. We have already a sustainable mobility plan, and we have reconstructed some commercial and major roads in the city center into pedestrian roads. And we can see this picture is a characteristic picture of the city center, the core city center. And three more, next slide, please. This is also a road that was flooded by illegally parked cars, and now it's a road dedicated for pedestrians, and there is a very good view of the road. Also, one more slide for that. Yes, this is the most commercial road in city center. It was full of cars, also parked cars and going through cars, and but now it's simply for pedestrians, and we have very good comments of the inhabitants, the users of the city. One more slide, please. This is also in the city center. No cars are allowed to enter these roads, so we were very happy to see just pedestrians and cyclists around this city, around this spot in the city. And as I said, we have very good comments from the users of all this complex of roads. Next slide, please. So the list of challenges that we have decided is, as Raphael said before, challenge A, creating micro-mobility hubs through secure bicycle parkings. Challenge B, management and control of parking spaces for persons with reduced mobility and logistics. Challenge C, control of motorized vehicle access in the pedestrianized area of the city center. And challenge D, electric powered micro vehicle for PRM passengers mobility in the pedestrianized city center. Let's see each one of them, what consists of. The city of Heraklion strives to implement safe and secure bicycle parking with the possibility of charging e-bikes located in the strategic point where the users, after finishing their trips, can park their bikes safely to walk or use the public transport. The ideal flexible modular solution could be spread around the city and accommodate a small number, 10 to 30, of bikes and e-bikes for both spontaneous parking and charging during the day by the registered users of the scheme. This is a very challenging, innovative proposal for our city, and hope it will be one of the funded ones. Next slide, please. Challenge B, management and control of parking spaces for persons with reduced mobility and logistics. This solution should enable PRM residents and visitors, and also truck drivers, to book parking spot. It should also facilitate the movement of people with disabilities and encourage their integration and equal participation in the life of the city by informing them in real time about the next free parking spot. Just to mention at this point that we have dedicated parking spots for logistics and disabled people in the city center, but there is no arrangement for that. So sometimes these spots are crowded and make problem in the traffic. So it should also facilitate the everyday work at the delivery companies and the shop owners by avoiding illegal parking of trucks in random, not appropriate places for parking. Next slide, please. Challenge C, control of motorized vehicle access in the pedestrianized area of the city center. We have the habit in Heraklion. I think it also can be found in other cities that most of the vehicle drivers cannot obey to the traffic rules. So we have to be some kind of mechanical items so that we cannot allow them to enter the core city center. So our city is looking for a technology solution through which it can control the city's entry points and or exit points of the central pedestrianized area. The solution, implementing the urban vehicle access regulations, should allow the city to grant the permissions to an authorized driver to enter the area during center time slots. The control of the entry and the exit points should not rely on the involvement of the police in the enforcement of the regulation. Next slide, please. Challenge D, electric powered micro vehicle for PRM passengers mobility in the pedestrianized city center. Heraklion is interested in piloting a new mobility option friendly both to people and the environment, operating in slow speed, roughly about 25 kilometers per hour, and allowing ride-hailing anywhere on the street. Smart or conventional telephone ordering should also be an option. This vehicle should be operated by a professional driver, for example, a city employee or employee of a private organization that uses our buses, local buses in, for example, the urban public transport operator, and should have a capacity of 5 passengers without wheelchairs, or passengers with or less passengers with wheelchairs. They are some small vehicles that are so conveniently moving around these pedestrianized roads, and can help these people to reach the end of the pedestrianized roads, and after that to get to their target points in another way. So next slide, please. No, this is for Larissa. Okay, this is for our presentation. Any questions should be answered afterwards for
yes,
your
exactly.
information.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Stelios, for the presentation of the 4 open challenges by Heraklion. And it's great that you can stay until the end of the info session. So there will be some 15 minutes reserved for Q&A.
Yes,
so if
there's
if there's questions from the audience to the presentation of the 4 challenges, please wait until the end of the session, and then Stelios will be able to answer on your questions.
Thank you very much.
Now I will hand over to our colleagues from Larissa, who will also explain in detail the challenges, the 3 challenges this time selected by the city. And we have the pleasure to have Deputy Mayor Diamantos Konstantinos with us, who will present, and also his colleagues George Sultis and Christina Midrula are in the meeting. Thank you already for your time today. And dear Diamantos, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. We are very happy to be here today in this program, in this special team, and we are grateful. A few facts about Larissa. Is a city on the center of Thessaly, capital of region of Thessaly, the largest city of the central Greece, and one of the major and most dynamic urban areas of the country, administrational, economical, commercial, educational, cultural, agricultural production, military center. We have about 2,000 inhabitants in the 2021 census. We have a central area about 2,500 acres with high density mixed use attractions of traffic. And within the central area, we have a pedestrian area about 400 acres. Next, please. Challenge A, creating micromobility hubs through secure bicycle parking. The city of Larissa strives to implement safe and secure bicycle parking with possibility of charging e-bikes, locating in a strategic point where the users, after finishing their trips, can park their bike safely to walk or use the public transport. Safe bike parking facilities will encourage more cyclists to use bikes, which is expected to increase the number of cyclists for long peri-urban distance trips and trips to uphill destinations. Next, please. Challenge B, collections of environmental and traffic data. The city of Larissa is looking into the use of smart devices to be installed close to schools and hospitals, and also less sensitive locations to measure and compare the level of environmental pollutions, air and noise, and traffic flows. The collections of relevant environmental and traffic data by smart device will enable the city to take informed decisions and to reshape urban mobility based on minimizing the harmful effects. Next, please. Challenge C, management and control of parking space for PRM. Unauthorized parking causes major accessibility issues for PRM. The desired solutions should enable holders of blue cards, PRM registered in Larissa, and visitors within reduced mobility to book a parking spot. It should furthermore facilitate the movement of people with disabilities and encourage their integration and equal participation in the life of the city by informing them in real time about the next free parking spot. The next, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diamantos, for the presentation of these 3 open challenges identified by Larissa. And Mr. Diamantos was also so kind to stay with us until the end of the session. So here again, if you have specific questions, you can ask them in the Q&A session at the end of this meeting. And now I will hand over to my colleague Anne-Laure.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, very good. So welcome to this session. I'm going to give you some practical information on the call calendar, some timeline, and I saw there are some questions in the chat regarding this, the evaluation process, so you also understand how we are going to, an expert evaluator, we are going to actually evaluate and assess your proposals, and actually you have to submit the proposal into our submission system. So in the following slides, starting with the call calendar and the timeline, as you've probably already seen, we have published the challenges of these 2 cities at the end of March, 28th of March. The deadline to actually submit your proposals is the 29th of May at 5 o'clock, 17 o'clock. This is really important. You keep in mind not only the day, but also the hour, because actually if you submit it 1 minute before the deadline is already too late. So please keep in mind this timing. After you submit your proposal, we will actually go through an admissibility and eligibility check during the month of June, at the beginning of June. Every proposal that will pass this first check will go through the quality evaluation phase during the month of July. We will communicate the results and go through some negotiation with you with the conditions clearing during the conditions clearing phase during July and August, depending also, we are conscious about the summertime, etc. So it's going to go through July and August. And we expect to have the final selection, meaning we have negotiated the proposal with you. The contract is starting in the onboarding, so on, during the month of September. So the project can start right after. So this calendar is indicative in the sense that we might have, considering the summertime, also a bit of changes in the timeline, but we expect more or less to have your project starting during the month of September. In the next slide, I'm going to go through the evaluation and selection process. This information is actually available in the call manual in section 5. So I'm not going to go through all the details, but I really want you to keep in mind to know actually that there are some criteria that you need to meet before sending or preparing even your submission, your proposal to this call. So the first, of course, is to have everything completed in our system, and I will go through it to Plaza in English and by the timeline, by the deadline. You as applicant, you also need to be registered in a couple of portals. I will go through that in a minute. So this is also one step which is mandatory in order for you to submit your proposal. You need, of course, you have to be eligible, meaning fitting into the definition that we have in the call manual. You need to be either a startup or an SME. And of course, also a large company coming from a member state or a third country associated to Horizon Europe. Switzerland and UK also are eligible with certain conditions, but you can also participate. KPI addressed, as mentioned before by Rafael, there are a couple of KPIs mandatory that you also need to include it in your proposal. The co-funding rate, this is also something mandatory, so 15% of co-funding rate is needed from your side. A letter of recommendation to make sure your pilot has been already implemented. So a letter in English, and the pitch deck. In case you are selected to the first stage, we will ask you to present your solution in an online pitch. So for now, we are asking already the presentation. And finally, the 4 mandatory deliverables that was also presented before. So all of this will be checked during this stage. And if you meet all of these criteria, you will, your proposal will be sent to the next step of the evaluation, which is in the next slide, the phase 1, so the quality evaluation. 3 expert evaluators will actually assess the proposal based on the predefined criteria of evaluation that you can also already look into section 5. They will, based on the excellence, the impact, and the implementation mainly, they will produce a summary evaluation report based on the consensus meeting. The 3 of them per proposal, we decide on a final score and a comment. And if the next slide, the next tick, if actually your proposal has a good ranking, is equal or above 50% of the threshold, and you are part of the 2 top ranking proposal, you will be actually invited to a pitch with the Urban Mobility Selection Committee. Okay. And in this case, of course, they will assess your pitch based on also some criteria that you can see in section 5. And if everything goes well and you are selected, then next slide, you will be invited to actually discuss the conditions and recommendation that we will send to you in the communication during probably, as I said, during the month of August. Okay, once the conditions are fulfilled and we agreed on the conditions, the onboarding and the contracting will begin and the project can start. Again, more details in section 5. We can also provide additional information if it's needed by email or during the Q&A. In the following slide, I actually would like to introduce a kind of a new topic, a new mechanism that we have introduced for this call, these calls for proposal, also for Braga, but also, and now of course for these 2 cities in Greece. We have introduced this lump sum. What does it mean? That means that you are going to receive a fixed amount, which is up to 60,000 euros per project. Okay, this means you need to, of course, detail during your proposal preparation your eligible actual costs based on, you know, the standard budget categories. You can have, there is a document that can explain a little bit more in details what are these categories. But mainly we need a breakdown of this cost per deliverables and per partners in case you are more than 1 applicant. So we're divided between direct cost and indirect cost. So we need this explanation and this detailed justification during the proposal to understand what are you going to do and if, you know, what the activities you are proposing are in line with a budget. But then during the implementation of your project, you are not going to submit anything else for the financial reporting. You are remove any obligations on the financial side. So it's a very good simplification for you, especially for the small organizations and the newcomers who don't deal with EU funding regularly. So it's really a matter of explaining us during the proposal stage, how are you going to use this budget? And during the implementation, we are not going to check how you actually spend this money. We give this money up to 60K and you spend, let's say, how you feel is adequate for and reasonable for the implementation of your project. Of course, we want to see the budget is in line with your practices, is reasonable, and is of course is needed for the activity proposed. This is why we need to assess this during the application after the submission of your application. In the next slide, I'm wanting to give you a bit of information regarding the payment schedules. So if you are successful, you will either receive 1 or 2 payments depending on the type of your entity. So if you are an SME or a startup, you will receive a pre-financing at the beginning after you sign the contract, which is going to be up to 50% of your total funding allocation. And a final payment, so the payment of the balance, the difference, either 100% if there is no pre-financing, or 50% in case there is a pre-financing already paid, provided, of course, that all the mandatory deliverables are declared fully completed and approved by EIT Urban Mobility. In the next slide, I'm going now to switch and present you the partner registration process. There is a process actually that you need to follow in order to submit your application in our submission platform, which name is Plaza. The very first step is that you need to obtain your PIC. So the PIC is the partner identification code. This is a number that actually the European Commission gives to any entity that is willing to submit an application to any European fund. So it's not only to EIT Urban Mobility, but it goes to any other program funded by the Horizon Europe, for instance. So it's a mandatory step and it takes you only 10 minutes. So if you don't have any PIC now, I really recommend to click already on the link. You will have the presentation available. It's already also available in the guidelines for applicants, which is published in the web page of the call. And you follow the steps. If you already have a PIC number, there is no need to register again, okay? Just make sure the information you are provided through this PIC, the VAT number, for instance, and other administrative or legal information is updated, okay? Why? Because in step 2, after you have the PIC, you will need to register in Plaza. And during this registration, we will ask you to provide this PIC number. And please make sure that the information is consistent in the PIC and in Plaza. So the registration of your organization in Plaza is very straightforward, but it takes at least 2 working days maximum to do that. So again, once the webinar is over, I really recommend you to start this process, even if you are not pretty sure that you are going to submit a proposal, but at least you've done this step. You know it's done, and you don't wait until the end where we might have some technical issues or delay, and make sure and remember that the registration will close 2 days before the deadline. So this is why we really ask you to do this as soon as possible. Step 3 will be to complete. Once your registration is in the system, you will be actually asked to update your partner information form. This is basic administrative and legal information that we actually need you to complete in order to check the eligibility of your organization. So this is why this also needs to be done before of course, the deadline. And only after that, you will be able to start drafting your proposal. Okay, so in the next slides, I'm going to show you the steps, actually, how to submit your proposal in our online submission tool, Plaza. So whenever, again, all the more information are available in the guidelines for applicants. But so once you are in our website, you look for call for proposals, you click on Challenge My City, Heraklion and Larissa 2023. This is where you will actually be directed to a web page, and you can actually create your draft proposal. And in the next steps, I'm going to show you the content of this draft of this proposal. You have actually 6 tabs that need to be completed by the project leader. So when we say the project leader is actually the main applicant of your project. If you are a single applicant, of course, this will be the company applying to the call to this call. If you are more than one company, one of them needs to be actually the lead. Okay, and this will be this company will actually create the proposal, complete all the different tabs, and submit at the end. Okay, but if you are more than one, again, every single partner needs to be registered in Plaza, and I will show you why. Because you will need to select who's from this partner will participate in the activity. So they already need to be in the system before you submit the proposal. Okay, so the 6 tabs. I'm going to start with the first one, tab number 0. Next slide. So the first one is, so the 0 actually is start here. This is actually where you put information on the area. You need to select as area market development. This is the area that this is related to this call for proposal. In the second execution period, you need to select Challenge My City 2023, Heraklion and Larissa. As a segment, you will see there are just a couple of options. It's either Braga in Portugal or Heraklion and Larissa. That's pretty simple, but make sure you actually submit to the right segment and to the right city. So this one, the following one would be the segment. So again, Heraklion and Larissa. Okay, and then you continue with the activity title. It's actually the name of your project, the acronym, something shorter that catchy, something very easy to remember and short, and then the start dates. I've put here as an example the 1st of September until the end of February. You also need to add an activity description. This is going to be used by our communication department for dissemination purposes. So this needs to include public information. In any case, of course, if your project is selected, we will confirm with you that the information which is there is actually available for the public. Before doing that, you always need first to click on Save, which is the first button at the top right-hand corner of your screen. So Save first, and then you need to check and save in order to go to the following tab. Without doing check and save, you are actually not able to continue with the application. Okay, so in the next step, in the next slide, I'm going to show you the next step with tab number 1, the contacts. And here, this is actually where you need to provide information on the lead partner. So again, either the single company, or in case of multiple company applying, you need to put the name of the lead company applying, representing the rest of the group. And you will need to display the name of the other companies involved in this project. Okay, where you see the arrows here, you will need to put actually the name, in this case here, Turbo Mobility is the name of your company. If you are with others, with a little green plus button, you just need to add the other organization that, remember, have been already registered in our system. If they are not registered in the system, of course, you won't be able to see them. This is why you will need to ask them to register in Plaza first. The same, you save the information, you check and save, and you go to the next tab, which is tab number 2, the activity overview. And here, this is where actually the content of your project, of your activity start to be included. So you have the activity purpose, the scope, the impact, the work plan, etc. So every time there is a little, as you can see, a question mark in blue, where you click on it and you see an explanation of what is looking for in each of the in each of the section, in each of the questions. So you edit the bottom and you complete with, in some cases, there are a maximum of characters. So you complete the information. And again, at the end, before actually you save the work and then you check and save. Before moving on, I just wanted to go back to one question related to the exploitation of the results, because as you can see in this section, you don't actually need to provide any input, just put an answer that it's not applicable. We have also realized, and it's one of the questions from today, that just putting non-applicable is not enough because the system needs a longer sentence. So in this case, please just copy paste either the same sentence or you put it a longer sentence, that would be okay. And then again, you save and check. But this section is not over, because if you continue in the next slide, activity overview, you continue, you will see on your screen, following information regarding outputs, deliverables, and KPIs. So this is crucial. This is really important at that stage to make sure what kind of deliverables and what kind of KPI I'm putting here in the system, because again, they are mandatory. So they are there. I've put already what should be the deliverables, but in any case, again, look at the call manual. Everything is very clearly explained. And you select and you add under deliverable file. And so you first, you start with outputs, you continue with deliverables. I've put here the 4 that we need for this call, and then the core KPI and the specific KPI that are also needed for this project. Okay, I've put most likely for the market innovation is going to be in 2024, because most likely the project will finish at the beginning of 2024. For the innovation pilot scaling, it's I've put 2024, but it's most likely be 2023. But in any case, this is, you always need to put a number, either 0 or 1, in under each of the year target value year. And we continue with the following slide. On the activity overview, we actually finish with these questions. KTI integration, I wanted to highlight this, this section because here, make sure you also refer to the call manual in section 3, when we actually need to define your exploitation pathways, what you're going to do actually with the cities, large industry, and university to actually comply with this knowledge and of triangle integration that we actually need in this type of calls. And then you continue with the communication and dissemination plan and financial sustainability strategy, etc. Always do a save and a check and save in order to continue with tab number 3. Tab number 3 is actually the activity specific information. So here you first need to define your keywords that we need to report to the European Commission. You define, they are self-defined keywords. So you put manually the keywords that you believe fit the best with your project. And then you continue with the predefined keywords. Here you need to always press the button load in order to see all the different keywords. They are predefined, you select at least 3 of them. And you continue with the rest of the application, which are actually, if you click, Rafael, they are actually questions, specific questions related to again, to your proposal and to what we are looking for as a solution or as a product to reply, to respond to the needs of the cities. So you, the same as before, you edit and you enter a description, an answer related to next to each of the questions. And you can, if you click, final click, you can potentially add any supporting documents, pictures, or GANs, or additional information that you would like the evaluators to actually assess. This is not mandatory, this is optional. And then again, on the final click, you always save first and then check and save. Tab number 4, next slide, is actually related to the sustainability mechanism. So as Rafael explained, you either need to choose between the revenue share, or in case of a startup, you have also the possibility to use the equity. Okay, so the same, you either of the 2 options, depending on the entity and depending on your strategy, you either complete one table or the other, and you explain actually with numbers or either with country of incorporation, etc. The information that you need to complete here, you save, and finally check and save. In the next slide, tab number 5, here we have a 2-phase, let's say, a process, because in case you are a consortium, so more than one applicant, you will actually need to use the Excel that we have put also on the website. You need to just use this Excel to actually prepare your cost estimation. It's very straightforward, also very easy. You need to actually share the budget between the different partners in your consortium per deliverables. We need to understand the percentage of involvement of each of the partners in the project per deliverables. Why? Because actually, in case of non-achievement of one deliverables, we have a mechanism, and it's also explained in the Annex 5 of the call manual, where we know exactly the percentage of reduction of the payments in case, again, a deliverables is not achieved. And we know exactly which partner we were supposed to contribute to this KPI is not achieving. So we have an indicator to reduce the payment if this is the case. We are pretty sure this won't be the case, but we need to have this mechanism in place just in case. So this is why if you are more than one applicant, please use this Excel. Very simple. You complete with the type of cost you are actually having. Here's 2023, but of course you will also have a 2024 column. And then you took this Excel and you basically upload it in the system. If you go to the next slide, it's here actually. So this is what you will see in the application. You upload your Excel file into the system, and then you just need to integrate. For statistic purposes, we still need you to actually put some data on the budget and the organization name into the system. So this is the third step. Next slide. This is actually how you will need to put the budget per partner. So you edit with a little blue icon. You click, you select the partner, and here, if you click again, Rafael, thank you, you will see the details of your cost. So it's basically a copy paste. If you're using the Excel already, it's just a copy paste of the costs that we need per partner. Okay, and here you put the name of the partner, the responsible person, the details of the cost per year in personnel, subcontracting, if there is any, travel and subsistence, equipment, etc. Although we don't expect to have other goods and services, for instance, the indirect costs, remember they are automatically calculated. It's 25% of on top of the direct cost, so excluding subcontracting. And you also need to remember to add the co-funding, okay? And the co-funding is up to 15% of your total cost. We also need to have this type of, to have this division, let's say, of the sources. Either it's a national funding or another source of funding, but we need to have this detail in the table. And that's it. If you move on to finalize, actually tab 5, sorry, of the budget, whenever you have included budget, for instance, under personnel, under travel, if you have also subcontracting, you will see these sections displayed in your screen, and you will actually need to provide a general information about an explanation of these costs to be used by every partner in your consortium or your single company if you are applying alone. Again, more information in this budget mechanism in Annex 5 of the call manual. If you can move on, that's the final step of the tab to be completed. So the supporting evidence, remember there are 2 mandatory documents that you need to submit before the submission as part of the application form. They are the letter of recommendation and the pitch deck. So both of them needs to be uploaded together in the system in Plaza under this tab 6, sorry. And then after that, the next slide, you will be actually able to submit your proposal. Okay, so this is what you will see when you finalize. You go back, that's the menu, when you actually create the proposal, you will see this column, all tabs completed, they are tick. So this means everything, the 6 tabs are completed, and you can click on submit. I'm going to finish with some tips and tricks, next slides, on this submission process. So as I said, save your changes every time, even though you haven't finished with a tab. For instance, tab 2 or 3, they are longer, and you need to finalize some stuff before continue. Always save your change, otherwise you will lose them. And whenever you have finished, you go and you click save and check, and you can continue with the rest of the tabs. If it happens that you have done the save and check, but you want to go back to one tab, that's always possible. You just need to go back to the tab, edit. There is an edit button at the top right-hand side of your screen. You click on edit, and you correct, you save, and you continue. As I said, upload your mandatory documents in tab 6, letter of recommendation and pitch deck. Registration, please register your organization in Plaza. Of course, have the peak first, and second, register your organization in Plaza as early as possible. Remember, we have at least 2 days, working days, to monitor, to check this registration and to validate your organization. And without doing these steps, you're not able to continue with the application form. So this is the very first step, and please do it as early as possible. Before submitting your proposal, check, of course, that you fulfill the core requirements with all the mandatory steps and the requirements, the content, the challenges, you fit with the content of your challenges, and with the pilot, the private pilot, previous pilot, etc. Your proposal is complete, readable, and written in English. And that all consortium partners, as I said before, in case of multiple beneficiary scheme, all of them have a PIC number and are registered in Plaza. Don't wait until the end. Don't wait until the day of the deadline to submit your application to avoid technical last-minute problem. This happened in the past. So we really recommend to start with the registration as soon as possible. Then you have the time to do your application and to submit it. Don't wait until the day of the deadline again. Maybe the final word is that the submission is done once, meaning, I don't know if you're familiar with other EU funding portal, but for this portal, you could just make one single submission of your proposal. When it's done, it's done. You cannot edit and go back to it. And that's it. Yes, Rafael, that's the final slide on the content, on the contact details, actually, where useful links in case you need to contact the help desk from the EU or Plaza as well. You can contact our service desk, and the call information package. As we said, for the content related, you have our colleagues from market development that are available, and for administrative and financial or rules related questions, you can contact us as PMO. There is a mistake here, but we will correct. It's not procedures PMO, but it's PMO at eaturbanmobility.eu. So that's all from my side. I think, yeah, time for questions.
Yes, first of all, thank you very much, Anne-Laure, for taking the companies through the application process. That is very important. And thank you for this detailed overview on how to apply.
No problem. I think there are some questions. I don't know if you want to take the ones from the cities first. I think there's a few on the chat.
Yes, we should take the questions for the cities first, exactly. Taking advantage that Stelios and Diamantos are still with us. Thank you both. So I see one question here for Stelios. Are you interested in splitting the tourist mobility from the city flows, or is it the same value for the city goals?
Yes, I can see it. Are you interested in splitting the tourist mobility from the city flows, or is the same value for the city goals? Well, we are not into making different policies about tourists and permanent inhabitants of the city, but we would like to have a view on that, so that if that affects the applications that we will have, that would be an issue that we could address. So we are open to suggestions like that, but not considered until now.
Thank you.
I don't know if it's concrete for Mr. Juan Pablo. Okay.
Thank you, Stelios. Well, the other questions I see in the chat now are more of a general nature. and not directly for the city representatives.
Yes, you're right. I'm just looking from the top to the end. I think there is these questions regarding the is it possible to apply several times with several ideas? So the question is yes, provided that, of course, you submit one application per challenge or per idea, let's say. But yes, this is possible.
Actually, I spotted another question for potentially both cities, and I see that Kostas is already typing an answer, but just to read it out. So what kind of geospatial software do you use within the city for both cities? Question from Wessel van Hoek. Is this something that you can address, Stelios or Konstantinos? You want to reply directly?
Well, I have to consult the IT department. I'm not ready to answer that. I'm sure there is one, but don't know the specific
Yes, of course.
name. Okay.
There's another question that I see regarding regular PRM and last mile logistics parking. Is it paid, or you need a tool to indicate real-time availability? So this is probably a question for Heraklion, because it mentions both PRM and last mile logistics parking. So the question is it paid? And do you need a tool to indicate the real-time availability of parking spots?
It is not paid for the time being. And we are planning to plan a policy on that, but not ready yet.
Thank you, Stelios.
There is also these questions about are any limit of the proposals. So I'm not sure. I think the person means there is any limitation of the number of proposals that we are receiving. I don't know if I understand correctly, but please correct me otherwise. In any case, there is no limit. We will receive as many as proposal we will receive, but of course, as you saw, there are only 3 proposals for Heraklion and 3 proposals for Larissa that will be selected, provided that, of course, they meet the requirements and they comply with the requirements of this call.
Any other question that can be addressed directly?
Rafael, I think the first questions from Juan Pablo at the very beginning, at the top, I don't know if you see the same as me, the orientation is for the cities in each city or for tourists. I don't know if you already addressed this question or not.
We have a big amount of tourists in our city, but I don't know the scope of discriminating the flows. I don't know for implementing different scenarios on applications or what else, I don't know.
As a general remark, I would advise to the participants to copy all the question and answers from the chat, so that when you're planning your submission, you can go back to the information provided in the Q&A session. Now I see that there's some new question also coming in for both cities. Do you have an existing it just disappeared. Do you have an existing mobility app? Was the question.
Rafael, we have already answered this question in the chat for Larissa.
Thank you.
Maybe I can take, there is this question about the payment terms. So as explained in one of my slides, actually, if you are an SME or a startup, you will actually receive a first payment when you sign the contract with us, which correspond to 50%. So if you have up to 60,000 euros, you will receive 30,000 euros when you sign the contract, and the rest, provided of course that you comply with other deliverables and so on, will be paid. The difference will be paid at the end when we receive the final deliverables, and we evaluate, we assess that everything is fine, and yeah, so that would be after the end of the project.
And there's another question. What happens to the solution after the 6 months pilot period?
I don't know if this one, someone from the team, or Luis, or someone would like to answer this one.
Yes, we have the pleasure to have the director of the market development team also in the meeting with us. So yeah, maybe Luis, if you want to take on this question or another one that you see, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, after 6 months, the solution is supposed to be disinstalled. Of course, there can be digital and physical solutions, but eventually the solution should be, the supplier should be already also budgeting and considering the need to disinstall the solution. For instance, if it has not been successful, that would be a reason not to keep it. Or even if it's successful, there might be the need to disinstall and maybe in the future procure the solution in a formal process, but that would come after. So please also budget and consider that eventually you might need to disinstall your solution.
Thank you very much, Luis, for this clear answer. Yeah, I think we have answered to most of the questions. I see 39 answered questions already. Thanks to the colleagues also involved in answering the questions in the chat. There's another question now from Juan Pablo Salazar. Are the cities proposing budget for potential follow-up? Is this something that the city representatives want to respond to directly?
From Heraklion, I think it depends on the results of this the challenge that is covered, and if it is successful, I think we could go on with more permanent implementation of each challenge.
Thank you, Stelios. All right. If there's no other urgent question, and yeah, please also bear in mind that we will always be there to answer questions after the session. So we will make these slides public. You will have the recording, and you can always reach out to me, my colleagues, Andor, directly to me. If you have questions, yeah, the email addresses are indicated in the slides. So yeah, for now, thank you very much to all the participants, and especially to the speakers for your time today. We hope it was insightful, and that if you have a matching solution, that you will start to prepare your application in Blasa following Anlor's very detailed guidance. Now, there is one more question, Anlor.
Yes, I think it's already, the Larissa city is already typing the answer from participants regarding the type of data used. So I think we can wait until the answer before closing the session.
Yeah, but the 40 questions that we received now in the Q&A session clearly indicate that there's a good level of interest from the participants in the 7 challenges. That is great to see. And as said, we would be happy to receive your application. Deadline is 29th of May. So make sure that you start the application yeah, in the next days to have sufficient time to provide all the required information. Stelios, you're typing the answer, or do you want to take it directly?
Which question, please?
I think this is the other Larissa city who is actually typing, Konstantinos.
It's Konstantinos.
Excuse me, about the latest question about the ArcGIS. Yes, I am just having now a contact with the employee that uses the GIS, because we don't have this information now. So we need 1 or 2 minutes for this.
we will also probably publish a Q&A document with some of the frequent asked questions in the web page of the call. So we can also include this answer in this document if you like. Exactly. So we will, if you prefer not to wait, Konstantinos of the city of Larissa, we can include this answer in this document.
So I was just informed that we don't have this data in order to update the maps to the GIS. We don't have access to this data. The city of Larissa does not have this data.
Thanks for providing the answer and checking with your colleagues. And then I think we've come to the end of the session. Yeah, thank you everyone, all the participants very much for your time today. And for the companies, we hope to hear from you soon to receive your application. Thank you, Stelios. Thank you, Konstantinos and Anlor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to receiving your proposals.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All of them, thank you. And Mr. Schultes is here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.